I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gracious Father, once again, we take our time right now to give you all the praise and all the glory and to say thank you for all the blessings you bestowed in our lives. We thank you, Lord, for the grace and mercy that you allowed us to experience this day. We ask, Lord, that you continue to be with us and bless this council, Heavenly Father. Thank you right now for all our employees. Bless them for the hard work that they do every day. And thank you and bless our constituents, our families and friends, Lord, that make up this parish. We ask a special blessing on all of our leaders and all of our military personnel, veterans, law enforcement officers, firefighters, and medical personnel. It's in your Son, Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Good prayer.
All right, public comment. A 3-minute time limit is established for each member of the public wishing to speak for or against an item on the agenda, accepts appeals, and you'll be happy to know we have no appeals tonight. To ensure that all speakers are heard, please hold cheers and applause. Anyone who wishes to place a comment in the record but does not wish to speak at the podium may fill out a speaker card and check the box indicating they do not wish to speak. Public hearing, ordinance calendar number 7391, ordinance to adopt the 2024 operating budget. Ms. Tanner, did you speak about this one, or did you want me to?
Can we do the public first, or?
Oh, we got some public comments. Okay. Terry Lewis Stevens.
Good evening. I'm under the understanding that with the budget for next year, there's a shortfall. Well, those sorts of things interest me because I don't like taxes. And I don't want to do taxes. But when I did a little bit of research the other night, what I found out about was, and I don't know whether any of you were on the council at this time, maybe Jerry, but back in the late 80s, there was a recession. And when that recession hit, the council didn't have enough money to pay their bills. Most councils didn't have enough money to pay their bills. And so there was a lawsuit that Walter Reed filed, and it happened to be against Washington Parish. And you'll find that if you just Google Walter Reed versus Washington Parish. In that lawsuit, it went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and they determined how shortfalls were handled in different offices who were expecting mandated funds. And I think that's something that everybody needs to look up and look into, because it's a really important lesson for everyone to learn how those things can be resolved. And I'm going to suggest tonight that the way it gets resolved is that you adhere to the will of the people who said, we don't want to fund those particular entities. And yet, in one case, there were 4 votes that said we don't want to do that. So it would be and should be incumbent upon those agencies who did not get their taxes renewed that they figure out either how to raise revenue on their own, or they need to, they just need to balance their budget. It's a tough one. I know it's a tough one. Later on tonight, we'll talk about a couple of the things on the agenda that I found very interesting. And when we're talking about millions of dollars in shortfall, and I'm just going to bring up 1 or 2 because they really did shock me when I read them. In one case tonight, you're going to vote on $500,000, $500,000 for landscaping along Highway 22. $500,000. That's a lot of landscaping when we're talking about not meeting our mandated obligations. There's also 3.3 or $3.8 million more going to Safe Haven for a new cafeteria. Now, you can justify it. You can say it's community development block grant funds, but this body freaked out last month over another project that was only $1 million or $1.5 million dollars in community development block grant funds. So priorities really need to be taken into account, and I urge you to think about that before you deliberate on this budget and based on what you finally adopt. Thank you.
Andrea Kosing.
Good evening, I'm Andrea Kosei. I'm the CFO for the Sheriff's Office. Thank you for having me tonight. When we were here in August with the Finance Committee, we were told about the budget cuts, and I do appreciate all the work that the administration and the council has done since August to at least get the same amount of budget in there this year for the jail as last year. But I do have to let you know that it's still insufficient, and I think that I'm surprised that after all these years, I think we're about 6 or 7 years, there's still a lot of confusion and misconceptions out there about this situation that we're in. One is that the sheriff is coming to the parish asking for money, and really it's the other way around. Since the parish has not been funding the jail, which is their responsibility, the sheriff has already put in over $9 million to fund the deficits. In the '24 budget, he has budgeted another $2.8 million. And with the money that the proposed budget that you have about to adopt, it's still going to be short over $4 million again next year. So the warden is here tonight, and we will do our best to hold those costs down. But I'm telling you, with rising costs and outside revenue coming down, it's going to be very difficult to make a dent on that $4 million. It's over $4 million. And so a lot of people say they just need to cut their budgets. So the jail's budget was cut 7 years ago. In fact, for 6 years, we never even spent the same amount of money that they spent in 2016. So all the cuts have been made. In 7 years, the budget that we have now is only 2% higher than it was in 2016. So that's not 2% a year. That's 2% in 7 years. With utilities, food, you know, it's a 24/7 operation. And medical cost. I can't even begin to tell you how expensive the medicine is for these inmates. Fortunately, we have some opioid money that's coming in that can help with that if it gets appropriated correctly. So you have a big challenge ahead of you. I recognize that. But I don't think that people realize, yes, the sheriff's office has its own funding for its own mandates. And the jail is not one of them, okay? When you call 911, we're the one answering in the middle of the night. We have a lot of roads and waterways to manage. We have a lot of crime next door. Law enforcement makes up 60% of the general fund's employees. We're also the tax collector. So when the firemen need to be paid, the fire district needs their money. When everybody else is evacuating, everybody else is shut in for pandemics, we're working to collect those taxes, get them to the fire districts so they can pay those first responders. So there's a lot of things that the sheriff's office does with the sheriff's office law enforcement district, which he has also kept that millage down. So about $1.37 million in property taxes will be saved this year because of rolling back those millages. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate all the comments. We faced this deficit in general fund for many years. And the thing that we started at the first of this year, probably around March or April, was asking the administration for the state mandated costs, what they thought that was going to be needed, what we had, and so forth. We were told at that time, and as we shared with most of the public and with the state mandated costs, that that would probably be around 15 million, maybe 18 million if we lost the public health tax, which is on the ballot for November. And we realized that and was looking at some things. We also asked for the budget to be to us earlier than September 27th. September 27th was really the last day under the charter that it could be presented. And what we received on the 27th was an ordinance, not the detail, not the budget, the ordinance. The budget we received Friday with, along with the public and everyone else. We did spot on the ordinance Wednesday night that there was an additional $7.275 million put in for state mandated cost. At that time, I asked for Leslie to give us some indication of where this money was coming from, because we've asked many times, do we have any money? Do we have any funds that are discretionary? What are we going to do? Quite a shock for this council to look at the budget Wednesday night and discover there's $7.275, okay? We have since met with the administration, and they have given us some explanation of where the funding came from. It was not in last year's budget. It was not in any of the budgets. So we are, at this time, investigating and looking to see that, and also asking for all funds and the dollar amounts on those funds that is held for St. Tammany Parish. This council needs to know what monies are available, what they're dedicated to, are they restricted, and what is available. And at this time, we are going to look for that information, and we have asked for that for many a year. We understand the mandated costs. Better than anyone, understands the mandated costs. In fact, I was in Washington Parish when Reed versus Washington Parish. I was one that testified, had to testify. They subpoenaed me. So I know very well what state mandated costs are, what we have to do, and what we need to do. I asked the state mandated people to be patient with us, to let us go over the budgets. There will be meetings, and we will try our best to get to what we have and what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll also point out, although it's the subject of much litigation between the parish council and various agencies, but Reed versus Washington Parish had the money to pay, they just didn't want to. There's no evidence that they didn't have the money to pay, so a little bit different situation than what we're facing here. But I think that said, we're going to entertain a motion to postpone this. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Canulet, you want to speak?
Yeah, I do. So, this has been real touchy. And I'm not going to pretend like this is fun in any way, shape, or form. This is not. This is extremely tough, and this is extremely difficult, and it's very hard. My colleague, Mr. Lorino, last meeting, he kind of gave me an idea, because he's been the chair for a couple of years, and he's like, man, all of a sudden at the end of the year, the money shows up. It just magically shows up into this budget. So I got, hey, I can play on this. So that's where I came up with my magic Mike funds from Mike over there in a show called Billions. But the seriousness of this is we have been trying to get this information. How much do we have and where it's coming from? I have put it on the agenda for 3 months before. And like Ms. Cheryl said, we're just getting this. And there's some things in the budget that I definitely think we should talk about. And I think one of it is raises. And one thing that Cheryl said and Mike said last time, I want to know to the penny, how much money do we have available to put to the budget? I think every council member wants to know that number. So once we get that number, I think it will be a little bit easier. It's not going to be easy, but we'll at least know the numbers we're working with and looking at. And I understand the jail and the other, everyone else is tough out there. We have quietly defunded the DA and the jail and the sheriffs in a way. And we're finding money, we're taking money from funds that maintain buildings and funds that maintain anything. But the problem with that is, when that building needs maintenance, we ain't gonna have the money to fix it. So, you know, now we're gonna have some asset problems. The sheriff had that years ago with his evidence room. He had to get a new one. He had to go get a new one because the other one was so dilapidated, stuff was just getting ruined in there. And we have a lot of assets and we have a lot of big buildings, and if we can't maintain and manage these assets and keep them running, you think it's expensive just to maintain them, but when you have to go and repair and replace and remove things, it's even gonna be even worse. So, like my colleague said, there's a couple things in that budget that several of us are looking forward to getting after. You know, the last 4 years, our budget has went up 41%. And we're still, you know, we're still short for these mandated costs. So, but I want to thank everyone that's worked on it, and I want to, you know, thank them all. So, like we said, it's been contentious at points, but hopefully we can get through this. And me personally, I'm looking for some guidance from the law to settle these issues with the DA and the sheriff, to say who owes what, where, when, and why, who's going to get paid. I think it'd make life a lot easier for everyone in the parish, including the sheriff's office and DA and us. But we're going to have to go to court, and they're going to have to decide what is payable and what is not. All right, that's all I got.
So this is just a public hearing, so there is no motion or a second on this one. We'll, a little bit later, we'll go to the public meeting, and then we'll do that. Do you want to? So, all right. So for the public hearing, number 2, ordinance calendar number 7392, ordinance to establish the 2024-2028 capital improvement budget and capital assets. There's no cards on this one. I think a couple of high-level things of looking at this, and one of the things that we do is we certainly seem to vote for a lot of projects to put funding toward it, but then when you look at the actual utilization of that, I think we're down to about 40% completion over the last 3 years of things, and I think we need to make sure that when we're voting for projects to be done, that actually have a legitimate chance of being done in the next calendar year, because that's what the charter says we're supposed to do, and that also makes sure that we're keeping on track and not just putting a lot of things out there that we actually don't have the capacity to finish. So that would just be one thing I'd just like to make sure when we delve into these a little bit more at some of the public hearings that'll be happening later this month and maybe into next month, that we're on track and on pace for those. Doesn't do a whole lot of good if we're voting money for things and we can't get them done. And sometimes I understand that's not our fault. We have to deal with other agencies to get things done. But it does start to get a pretty big delta. I think about 175 million. That's a lot. That's before we put in the money that we have now. So I think we need to make sure we're on track on those things. Does anybody have any other comments on the public hearing part of this? All right. All right, well, we'll close the public hearing on the budget, subject to the other meetings that are probably going to take place later on. So public meeting ordinance calendar number 7381, ordinance to adopt the 2024 operating budget. 7391, sorry. Motion to postpone that at this time?
I make a motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Tanner, second by Councilman Canulette. Please vote on that. Postpone for a month.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 7392, ordinance to establish the 2024-2028 capital improvement budget and capital assets. Hey, President Cooper, did you want to talk on this, the capital assets part of this, or either one? If you could. You're talking about the capital assets, correct? I think is what you.
Yeah, just some projects.
Okay, right. Well, that's in the budget, so let's talk about those.
No, I'm gonna stand up here.
Okay.
Is the proclamation right after?
The presentations are right after, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. I'd ask for a few moments of personal privilege to give an update on several projects that are underway, nearing completion, or actually nearing the beginning of construction that you all have asked about over the past several months, but it just seems like they're coming into to the final stages at this point. So I thank you for this opportunity. The first is the $1 Million Road Bridge. I know you all have been asking about it. The public has been asking about it. It is actually expected to be completed tomorrow, October 6th, after some striping work is done in the morning. The bridge has been under construction since early 2022 and was expected to be completed by the end of this year. So they're several months ahead of schedule. Also, with this package is the Hosmer Mill Bridge, which is in the same area. It crosses the Little Bogaflaya River. This bridge is expected to be completed within the next several weeks. Both bridges were under construction by the same contractor, J.B. James. Both bridge replacement projects totaled about $2 million, and funds were used through DOTD's off-system bridge program. So we're excited to announce that bridge will be open tomorrow. Another project, the West St. Tammany Wastewater Treatment Plant in the Goodby area. This project is substantially complete, and we're finalizing punch list items. If you recall, this is a project that's adding capacity to one of our sewage treatment plants. It is currently up and running and serving our citizens. It increased the capacity from 500,000 gallons per day to 1.250 million gallons per day for more than 1,300 homes and businesses in this particular area around Hannon High School and Diversified and all of the neighborhoods in that particular area. It's a $7.1 million project, which is the largest utility investment in St. Tammany Parish history prior to receiving funds through the water sector. Kyle Associates is the architect, our engineer on this project, and Lemoyne Construction is the contractor for this project. So we'll have notice when that project is finally complete. And the third project, which is set to begin, is the Meadow Lake Interconnect project, the first project of the water sector, Phase 1 in East St. Tammany. Construction will start this month. It connects the Crossgates water system to the Meadow Lake water system, providing a secondary source. This is part of the $23 million project to improve the Crossgate water system. This funding was obtained not only from our own local ARPA funding, but also from water sector funding that we received from Baton Rouge due to the hard work of our staff and engineers who put together the application, and due to the help and support of our legislative delegation in Baton Rouge, particularly Senator Patrick McMath and Senator Sharon Hewitt. The new water wells and water towers, those projects are currently being advertised. These projects have been under design for the past year. Since January of 2020, when we took office, we have fought for and started $92 million in projects for water and sewer utility infrastructure in our parish. Again, the most in parish history. This is just an update. I want to thank you all for your support in the funding and allowing us to move forward in these projects which benefit our citizens. Thank you.
We have ordinance calendar number 7392. This is on the capital improvement budget. Ms. Tanner's making a motion to postpone for 1 month. Second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote on that.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
And as we said, there'll be budget hearings upcoming with both the outside agencies, the inside agencies, as well as the parish departments to go into detail the budget. Next, we have presentations. I'd just like to take a brief moment and thank the poll workers that we've had, both in the council and around some of the other areas for early voting. They work really hard, and I appreciate them giving up their time to come out and do that, and for all the people that are going to go out next Saturday and help as well, too. It's a huge job, thankless job. I appreciate all that. So, number one, presentation of proclamation of St. Tammany Parish Government Employee of the Month, President Cooper.
Good evening again. I'm happy at this time to present Employee of the Month. It's an honor for me to do so each and every month to acknowledge one of our outstanding employees for Team Tammany. And this evening, I will be providing this proclamation to Mr. Andrew Hontiveros. He's a professional engineer in the Department of Utilities. Come on up, Andrew. So Andrew was nominated by his director, Chris Tissue, and he's here with his wife, Katie, and daughter, Gabby, sitting right here. Whereas Andrew Hontiveros, professional engineer, began his employment with St. Tammany Parish government on September 16, 2019, as an Engineer 3, and holds the honor of being the first engineer hired by the Department of Utilities. And whereas since that time, Andrew has proven himself to be an asset in his department through his involvement in the development and implementation of departmental standards for St. Tammany's water and sewer infrastructure. And whereas Andrew has also played an integral role in the planning, application, and implementation of our water sector applications, which have resulted in the award of over $70 million to invest in improvements in our systems. And whereas Andrew has fully designed, permitted, and managed the construction of multiple projects for St. Tammany Parish, including the recently completed water main extension along Herwick Bluff in the Cross Gates area of Slidell. And whereas Andrew is well respected among his colleagues, both within parish government and the private engineering community, and actively participates with the American Public Works Association, the American Society of Civil Engineers, among other professional societies in which he is a member. And whereas Andrew has a passion for all things engineering, firearms, and especially his family, and he brings a positive attitude and fresh perspective to every project situation he's a part of, and is truly an excellent coworker. And whereas Andrew is an outstanding employee who performs his duties in an exemplary manner and is committed to serving the citizens of St. Tammany Parish. Now, therefore, I, Michael B. Cooper, as parish president of this great parish, do hereby recognize the hard work, dedication, and accomplishments of Andrew Hontiveros, professional engineer, as Employee of the Month 2023, October, and encourage all citizens of St. Tammany to thank him for his contributions and commitment to St. Tammany Parish. Congratulations, Andrew.
President Cooper, members of the council, thank you for this recognition. I appreciate you all recognizing the hard work that not only that myself, but as well as all our colleagues in the department, as well as within the parish government, have done. It takes a team, and I appreciate everyone's hard work, and I appreciate the nomination for as the Employee of the Month. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Number 2, presentation by Chief Kaufman regarding the crisis pilot program sponsored by Councilman Davis and Councilman Smith.
Good evening, council members, ladies and gentlemen. If I can get the pilot members to come up behind me, please. Slidell Memorial Hospital, Slidell Police Department, St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office, St. Tammany Parish Coroner's Office, and St. Tammany Parish Government. Mary, if you're here, I think you are. July 27th, we did a press conference. Councilman Smith was there, and I want to thank Councilman Davis and both of them for putting us on the agenda tonight. We asked to get on the agenda, quite frankly, because the data that we've already collected since July 27th is alarming in St. Tammany Parish. Our goal with the pilot, with the help of North Lake Behavioral, the Nest Center, the 40 acres that they have at the Safe Haven campus, all of the agencies that I have behind me today, the goal was to address the overdose addiction mental health crisis that is across our country. And quite frankly, in St. Tammany Parish, we wanted to do something about it. In a matter of a few weeks, we were able to pull this together without politics and personalities, quite frankly, to do what's right for the people of St. Tammany Parish. When it comes to public health, we should pull every resource together for their best interests. And by doing so, we created a crisis response program that I house a crisis response team member in Slidell at my headquarters that North Lake and Ness employ 24/7 every day. I guaranteed them 3 months up to 6 months they could stay at my headquarters at no cost because we have to work together to tackle this crisis. Just to touch on the crisis response team member, or what we call mobile crisis response, that individual's at my office listening to a radio to 911 traffic. All 911 dispatchers have been trained and briefed on the protocols for this pilot program. Whether it's law enforcement or fire, we dispatch the emergency responders first, and then we notify the crisis response team member so that that person can get en route from my headquarters in their personal vehicle to get to a scene. The difference that this program is making is that crisis response team member is getting face-to-face with these patients, these people that are in crisis, to try to help them make the right decision so that we can get them the care and help they need immediately. Just in call data, I'm gonna give you some data. And we do not have a dashboard, as everyone well knows, in St. Tammany. We're working on that. So the data I'm giving you is the best data we have in St. Tammany Parish. Last year, we responded to 401 overdoses. In this year alone, we already responded to 325. If you do the math, we will be at projected 433, which is an increase. Of those overdose calls, what's alarming to me, this program was for 18 years old and above. They committed at no cost, whether you had Medicaid, insurance, private pay, or not, that we would treat you. We had juveniles, 17 and under, 9 females and 3 males that overdosed on one substance or another. It's not just fentanyl. It could be more than one thing. I'm not going to get into the detail of it, but it's alarming to me. We had 12 juveniles overdose. Overdose deaths. I'm going to go back to 2021 because that's how long I've been tracking this during COVID, because we had a spike in overdoses during that period. And working with the coroner's office, they have been providing me this data. In 2021, we had 151 overdose deaths in this parish. In 2022, we had 127. And as September 30th of 2023, we have 85 overdose deaths. suicides. Anybody remembers the previous administration under Kevin Davis? He had a suicide task force. I was on that task force. That's 20 years ago. I know I'm not that old. When we look at suicides from 2021, we had 49. In 2022, we had 47. September 30th, 2023, we've had 33. So we're on track to meet those same numbers. Again, the alarming piece of this data for suicides is the attempts of juveniles 17 and younger. We had 13 females and 9 males attempt suicide. We have to do something. Since we started the pilot program, we call it the NEST pilot program because that program was a voluntary walk-in and we would get you help up to 23 hours. That's what we committed to. That's what everyone behind me committed to. We responded 92 times to 911 calls that met the criteria that we set forward for this pilot. Of those 92 calls, and this pilot is in the 8th and 9th wards in Slidell, 100,000 residents of our parish. Overdoses were 29, mental health and psych calls were 40, and we had 23 that was either both or transported to the hospital prior to our response team member getting there. That doesn't stop them because they do also go to the ER. Remember, SMH is part of this pilot. We have every aspect of the system from the crisis on scene all the way to the hospital to a program is what we have challenged ourselves to achieve. And in this response area for the pilot, 5 of the above mentioned attempts were juveniles in our district. Our goals for this pilot was to direct individuals to the right care and right program ASAP. If anyone has had a family member or friend that's been touched with mental health, because mental health is the foundation of everything we're talking about. It's broad. All of our major 4 hospitals have to deal with this in the ERs. You would probably be surprised how often our ERs are on diversion or saturation or psych diversion. And just to give you an idea, I only have data for SMH because we have the 2 campuses, East and Main. And just in the month of August, there was 149 patients that were admitted into the ER and transferred out to a program. If anybody understands what that means, that's probably a 48-hour stay. You get put in a queue and you get sent to a nearest bed that's available. In Louisiana first, and then you go outside of Louisiana in worst case scenario. Our goal was to keep our residents in St. Tammany Parish. Our goal was to reduce the number of suicides and overdose deaths. Our goal was to provide continuity of care, one-stop shop. Our goal was to collect data and effectively use all available resources in St. Tammany to effectively address this crisis. And our last and end goal for this pilot was to be able to expand it and offer it to all of St. Tammany Parish. And over the last 90 days, 24/7, we've had conference calls, we've had patients on scenes. I've learned way more about the mental side of mental health and psychiatric patients than I really thought I was going to be exposed to. But to make right decisions, it took more than one agency to make that decision. But with the team behind me, we were able to act fast, promptly, and not wait. Because if you don't deal with it while it's in crisis, most people don't want the help. many of the people we responded to, we've gone back to more than one time because of those reasons. The Nest Center offers, as I said, outpatient programs up to 23 hours. And North Lake Behavior Hospital has 140 beds on that campus for inpatient programs. We also have other hospitals that we can send people to. But what's missing is part of the reason why we're here today, to give you the update and overview of what's happened in this pilot, but also ask you to consider some things going forward. But what's missing in this cycle is the psych mental health urgent care is what I'm going to call it. The crisis stabilization care. It's the component between 23 hours, not inpatient, and then the inpatient could be 5 days up to 6 weeks, and there's some programs you could be in 6 months. But we don't have the 3 to 5 day where you get that medical assessment, that detox, and be treated and go into an outpatient program with follow-up. This program offers follow-up. North Lake Behavioral and the Nest Center went all in at whatever cost to provide these services today. And we're missing that middle component. I serve on the Finance Committee for Safe Haven, just for y'all's information. The one thing we didn't anticipate was the number of OPCs, Orders of Protective Custody, basically saying you're going to be transferred somewhere. We're going to transport you somewhere. A PEC, Physician's Emergency Certificate, where you're committed to a hospital or facility up to 72 hours. Or the worst case could be a CEC, which is the Coroner's Emergency Certificate. Could be up to 15 days. And there's some that go beyond that, obviously. We have done more OPCs than anything with the entire pilot. We've had very few walk-ins to the Nest Center, voluntary for 23 hours or less help. We've handed out brochures to patients, families, hoping they would call the next day. Some have. But that's what the pilot program is for, so we can pivot and let the data drive us where the resources are needed. So we realize today we have more people in crisis that need to be OPC'd, quite frankly, to get into a program. And the piece that I'm asking for, and I know it's being worked on because North Lake is working with Florida parishes. Some of y'all may have been contacted through Mary and Safe Haven to reopen that CRC, that Crisis Receiving Center. Has 24 beds. We are one parish in this state that has every component to make this a complete program. No one else in Louisiana has that opportunity. And we have it on one campus in the 4th largest parish in Louisiana. So we ask this council, and we want y'all to know we support the public health millage that's gone up for renewal because this is a public health crisis. Any assistance would be appreciated. We all know about the opioid class action lawsuit. Many agencies, 17, were part of that in St. Tammany. We all have members on committees, but this body will have decisions to make to come up with programs that directly affect the opioid crisis and aftermath. I don't know another program that's dealing with it in crisis. We're dealing with it on the ground in front of a patient face to face. And we're offering to complete a program from voluntary commitment for 3 to 5 days to get yourself some help with an outpatient follow-up, or if you really need inpatient. We're offering you the whole package. But we need some help getting that middle component that we're missing. And I think we've laid the groundwork for a program that could be duplicated anywhere. This hasn't costed anyone any additional money. It's cost time. And I have to thank the people behind me because it's been a lot of time. In North Lake, they have spent some money. I don't want anybody to think they haven't. Because that crisis response team's not cheap, 24/7, to be available to respond to someone's house. So my hat goes off to them because they made a commitment, and so did this body of people that's standing up before you tonight to give St. Tammany Parish residents an opportunity to get help, get their family members some help, get them back into society, let them be productive citizens, and doing what we should be doing as leaders in this parish. So my hat goes off. I thank everyone behind me. Thank y'all for allowing us to come tonight. And this is 3 months. That's why we're here. This is urgent. I don't want anybody to think this is just a presentation. The data is already speaking to us. We didn't waste any time to act. Tonight, I ask you not to waste any time to act, to help support us and complete this program and get it available to everyone in St. Tammany Parish. Thank you all so much. I'm open if there's any questions.
Thank you. We have Councilman Toledano in the queue.
Thank you, Chairman Aaron. Chris, I just want to say that once again, I'm very impressed by the way you and your team members present yourself. Every time you come before us, you're very organized, and quite frankly, you have great plans that make St. Tammany Parish better. And I know Dr. Preston some time ago came to our council and made available the Narcan kits. That was a tremendous thing. I have one in my truck. I mentioned to one of you guys earlier. So I just want to thank you for that effort. I think it's unbelievable, and what makes us a great parish. I have one question. In that program, which sounds like a terrific program, do y'all have a tracking system that once the person passes the crisis level and is out of the system, at least the institution part, does your team track these people for a year or so to see that they've reestablished themselves in the community and psychologically getting the right help?
Well, absolutely, that's part of what the data collection is. Obviously, this has only been 90 days, or right about 90 days, but part of that process is to collect data going forward. We did look back on data to give us some things to work from, some data to work from, but there's no question that this team talks. We meet on Zoom once a week, just so y'all know the time, to keep us on the same page. But data collection drives everything we're doing. That's why we're here, because it's screaming at us that we have a crisis and what we should be doing to address the right resources to get people the right treatment. And we are committed to track data beyond the program. That's the part I said about follow-up. Most people don't realize how important those two words are, because you can go into any program, and if there's no follow-up, no counseling, the percentages are really low that you go back to whatever lifestyle that is. And mental health is a broad word for all of us to understand, but it affects so many people in so many different ways. You know, tonight we're talking about, addiction and overdosing, but mental health's the foundation and basis for all of those things that happen. And we just need to accept that, but how do we address it is the key. And I think this program that we're presenting, there's not another one like it that you can find to say that somebody's tackling this issue. And our data's, going to be, I think, great going forward to be able to also validate what the next steps will be. This is done on a weekly basis. And
so do you have enough resources to do that tracking? I call it tracking, but you might have a better word for it, to make sure that these people are assimilating back into a normal lifestyle and getting necessary treatment. Do you have enough resources to do that?
Yes, and that's part of North Lake, the NEST program. They have a tremendous staff that has committed to doing everything that we're talking about, and including tracking of the patients once they're released. We have programs that can be outpatient, transitional housing, male, female dormitories. This body of people behind me, we toured the facility. Y'all know I don't get in something if I don't do my due diligence. I want to see the facility that we're talking about, where people are going to stay, programs they're going to be in. It's not the prettiest brand-new facility, but I got to tell you, we have 40 acres. We have an opportunity here, is what we grabbed onto, to say, let's put these resources together instead of pulling in different directions. There's so many programs I can't tell you tonight, because I would need the other 3 minutes that's not ticking right now. I'd have to buy a vowel or something.
You did tell me 5 minutes when you
I
started.
did, I
so-
apologize, but I always tell you, I
It
got
is
a lot to say
important, I
because it's
understand.
important. But I don't apologize for it, but I absolutely. I mean, it's,
I would tell you that hearing it and knowing something about it beyond just your presentation, you guys could create a model that could be taken to other places in Louisiana and would be of immense benefit to our society. And I would just encourage you to think in those terms, because there are other jurisdictions, as you know full well, that could benefit tremendously by this. Thank you very much.
and we couldn't have done this without the communication and as I said, personalities and politics put aside. That was the first comment in the first meeting. Everyone agreed to do this, but without law enforcement in 99% of the cases being first on scene, without the direction from the coroner's office, because everything has a connection to mental health. The two doctors behind me, Dr. Sigolito and Dr. Preston, have been phenomenal. But the inclusion to have a discussion with a police department or the sheriff's office in our team together and make a right decision, the best decision for that patient at that moment in crisis, has been the difference. And that response team member is the person that's really digging down, trying to get to the root of why we're there. And not one of us could have done this by ourselves. And it's complicated, to say the least. Most people don't want to deal with it. Most people think it's going to go away. I'm telling you tonight it's not, because I've been tracking data for a long time. But I don't like wasting time and resources. I like to be efficient with taxpayer money. I like to focus on the people who pay us to be here. That's the one who needs the care right now. And we need to work together to serve them.
Councilman Davis?
Yeah, Chief Hoffman, thank you very much, and all the affiliated members of this pilot program. I think you hit it right on it's not really the cost that's really the most important thing. It's the cost of lost lives. I mean, that's what it's all really about. And this mental health problem that we're having is having everywhere. It's not just St. Tammany Parish. So I appreciate the chief going about and getting all these individuals together and trying to start this program and go. I can tell you for a fact that Safe Haven will continue as long as I'm here on this board.
Thank you.
That's one of my ultimate goals, because we need to get help for these people. And that's why I think, like you just said, I think this public health millage is extremely important.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
Councilman Randolph?
Yes, Chief, I want to also commend you and your team of professionals, of knowledgeable professionals, to bring this information, this data back to us publicly, because as I sit here, we are okay. Our families, some of our family, but it happens, and it's obviously happening because you guys brought the data back, that it happens to families. It's alarming, it's concerning, but it's facts. And I like to see this program work, this crisis pilot program turn into a crisis reality program. I heard some terminology And I just want to make sure I heard it right. You're asking for a crisis receiving center? Am I right?
Which we had that was open that is now vacant at Safe Haven.
Okay.
The facility is there, it's built out, and there's 24 beds. So the facility's there, and we are currently, North Lake Behavior is currently in communication with Florida Parishes, Richard Kramer, and Mary. Mary, you here tonight? I know she's standing behind me. Appreciate you having my back. That conversation's already happening. Again, we haven't wasted any time. Our people in crisis, we need to be working in crisis mode. There's no reason to have that place vacant a day, because we can bring people there now. And some of this was attempted 2 years ago, but we didn't have the team working together, pulling in the right direction, because the two law enforcement agencies behind me, Slidell Police Department and St. Tammany Parish Sheriff's Office, they are bringing these patients to North Lake. They're bringing them to the program. Another piece that's missing is getting those people that are in crisis help now. You know, one thing I learned in this program, people change their mind quick.
Yeah.
When they have to sign a paper
Yeah.
that says you've been acting a little different and you're gonna get some help and you're gonna get maybe committed. Stories change and we don't get to help them. And part of that process is getting them help while they're in a crisis, because once it passes, they go back to what they're doing, and then some things happen the second and third time. And from a drug standpoint, I can tell you, we brought a lot of people back to life with Narcan. Today, we're seeing some that we can't bring back when we get on the scene with Narcan. That's how lethal the drugs are that's on the street today. The coroners here with me can speak to that. That's how lethal the drugs that we're seeing. I could almost guarantee you a few years ago, I'm gonna bring somebody back to life. I'm gonna get a pulse. We've had patients, we hit them with 4 or 5 Narcans, and I can't bring you back to life because it's lethal. So you may not get a second chance is what I'm saying today.
Right.
Program is your chance. And if we have one-stop shop where we can bring them in that program, we're giving people a chance. We're giving a family a chance. Let's call it what it is. It's a crisis for a family as well.
Family. And I want to commend all of you all for your time, your effort, your expertise, and your sacrificial interest to come together as one to work on this problem that's not just worldwide, but we're talking home. And I just want to commend you all. You all have heard about the budget situation we're facing, and that in itself is challenging. And with this being extremely important, we're talking life and having it more, quote, abundantly. You've given us a lot to really ponder, to think about, to mentally deliberate, especially with the data. 3 months of data. That's awesome. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman O'Brien?
Well, first of all, thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for sharing the data. I was a little surprised about the number of juveniles
So
that
was
you
I.
talked about. And I wanted to ask, is there any plan to work with the public and private school systems, with counselors or anything like that? Because I was really shocked at the numbers that you gave on juveniles.
I worked directly with the school system, with the Narcan distribution. That's about as far as we have gone, because they have the school resource offices, and we got Narcan in every public school in this parish now.
Okay.
Come on in, Mary.
Chief Kaufman, just one thing. Sorry.
Come on in.
I just wanted to mention that a lot of these programs, this mobile crisis unit, the crisis stabilization is part of a statewide crisis program. They have an RFP right now, LDH, to expand that to juveniles, the mobile crisis unit. So you will be seeing more talk of that very soon.
Good. good.
But remember what I said, when we started, this program's for 18 and above. And I have to tell you, the crisis response team, the Nest Center, North Lake said, we're going, even though it's not part of our criteria. So they went to the juvenile calls as well, which, again, it's whatever it takes. It's whatever it takes. Maureen, you had another question?
No, sir, that was it.
Councilman Binder.
You got 3 minutes.
I didn't realize this was going to be so popular.
Last time I was here, we were related. I'm just following up on that. Yes. Okay.
Chris, I think you used up my 3 minutes.
I apologize.
So, no. Well, first, I'm just going to say quickly what everybody else has said. Thanks to all of y'all, okay? I want to mention this because I think it's important. You know, we've seen things with the coroner's office, okay? And as Dr. Preston knows, and a lot of my colleagues, I've been closely connected in a way to the coroner's office, just as someone for the council that was available, especially when all of their expenses came through the parish, the approval of everything came through the parish. And I say this to people, and I think it's something that needs to be said more often, and that is that the coroner's office does more than autopsies.
Yep.
Okay? But that's the way many of us grew up, okay? There's a connection between, you know, death, autopsies, and the coroner's office, because that's what we read about in the newspaper, okay? I've learned through the years, because of Dr. Preston, who's not running for office, so I can say this non-politically, has been very, very proactive with his chaplaincy programs, with a lot of programs. And without getting specific, because neither he nor I can, I've had constituents, families, contact me on occasion over the years. And a few referred to Dr. Preston and you know, made a phone call. If families, because here's the thing I've noticed, and my wife and I had this conversation. If a person has a broken arm and they're in a cast and a sling, you know they have a broken arm. I don't know the people that walk past me or I walk past them in a day that have a mental health problem, because there's nothing that says it, okay, that indicates anything. But family members may be aware. Now, I'm sure on many sad occasions, they're not even aware. But the ones who are aware, and what I've seen is when they were put in touch with Dr. Preston, in his office, there's been good results. And Doc, you know what I'm talking about. There have been good results. I'm talking about people who had problems and the family noticed it. And just by getting to Dr. Preston's office, the coroner's office, and getting that time frame to be able to research what the problem is, because you guys, for the most part, are having to deal with the immediate crisis. If we can find what's the problem in advance of the crisis, then we've seen good results. And Dr. Preston, I'm sure you would agree with that. So it's a good time for all of us to remember that that agency, okay, whether under Dr. Preston or whoever comes after him, it is much more about continuing life than simply finding out what caused the death of a life.
Right.
Okay? So that's it for me. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Chief Coughlin, and
Can I add
everybody
one
else.
thing? One quick thing. There's a shortage of adolescents beds. That'll be something that we have to address at some point. And just want to make that point, because when you look at the juvenile numbers, that's not something we prepared for. So it's something that we'll have to do. But thank you all for your time tonight and your consideration.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to appointments. Number one, resolution to reappoint Ross Jordan, term expired, to the Board of Commissioners for Fire Protection District Number 9. Councilwoman Tanner.
Thank you. I think the chief is supposed to be here, but he's sick. His lieutenant.
I wrote it down, very short, so I promise you I'll be much shorter than Chief Kaufman.
Can't believe that.
You should
Thank
go
you
to the
so
monthly
much.
meetings with him. I'm Michael Accardo. I'm the training chief for Fire District 9. I'm here on behalf of Scott Brewer, who unfortunately is not feeling well this evening. First and foremost, I want to express our gratitude toward the Parish Council and extend a heartfelt thank you to Councilwoman Cheryl Tanner for reappointing Ross Jordan to our Board of Commissioners. Ms. Tanner's commitment to our community is commendable, and we are truly grateful for everything she does. The board members of Fire District 9 would like to acknowledge and appreciate Ms. Tanner's efforts, support, and follow through on everything we have asked of her. Her dedication and hard work have not gone unnoticed, and we are fortunate to have her as our councilwoman. We look ahead to we eagerly anticipate working with Ms. Tanner in the future. We're confident that together we can achieve great things for our community. We're grateful for her unwavering support for our fire department. Thank you, Ms. Tanner.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. They had a fundraiser about 3 weeks ago. If you have another one, you need to let us know. They do excellent. Excellent.
I didn't prepare for anything for this, so I'll just speak off the cuff. I'm not a very good public speaker. We are having a fundraiser, usually a spaghetti dinner, to raise funds. We're trying to purchase Lucas-type devices, automatic defibrillator. As Chief Kaufman pointed out, there is a opioid crisis. Usually involved with that is we have to start CPR. We're a small department. For our small department, our population is under 6,000, I believe. We probably have a CPR call at least once a week, sometimes two. And the automatic defibrillator or automatic compressor, it actually compresses the chest for us. We may only have 2 people on shift that day, so it really helps us help save lives, and it has helped. So we appreciate anybody who wants to come out to our fundraiser, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Please let me know. Thank you so much. I make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Bender, did you want to say something, or you? Okay. All right, I have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Yes, he's talking to me. I'm sorry.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
All right, number 2, resolution to appoint Brian Swindell, current alternate, to replace Dewey Spees, resigned, on the St. Tammany Parish Board of Zoning Adjustments. Councilman Lorino.
That's got to be moved up to full spot.
Okay, we have a motion. Mr. Dean seconds. Please vote.
And that motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
And I assume we need him for a quorum, so would you like to move to suspend and adopt? Motion to suspend and adopt by Mr. Lorino, second by Mr. Davis. Please vote on that.
Motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
Number 3, resolution to appoint Bill Boren to replace Anthony Costa, resigned, on the Board of Commissioners for Sub-Drainage District Number 3 of Gravity Drainage District Number 5. Councilman Toledano.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Mr. Costa for his service on that particular board and offering a move to appoint Mr. Bill Boren.
Second by Councilman Lorino. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
All right, moving to the consent calendars. Any items not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically approved in whole by 1 vote. Items pulled from the consent calendar are discussed and voted upon individually. A majority vote of the entire council, 8, is required to adopt the consent calendar. So I only have a few items to pull right now. Ordinance for introduction, number 10. Ordinance calendar number 7403. Ordinance for introduction number 13. Ordinance calendar number 7406. Resolutions, number 2, Resolution Council Series number C6831. Looking to my left, do anybody want to pull anything? No. On my right, or vice versa on that one. Anybody with administration? No. Anyone in the audience? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to adopt or to push forward these to the motion by, well, not adopting consent calendar, I'm sorry. Motion by Mr. Bender, second by Councilwoman Tanner. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right. Number 10, ordinance calendar number 7403, ordinance amending the official zoning map of St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana to reclassify certain parcel located on the south side of Eliza Lee Cemetery Road, east of Neal Cemetery Road, Folsom, in which property comprises a total of 6.51 acres of land, more or less, from its present A1 Suburban District, RO Rural Overlay, and MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay to A1A Suburban District, RO Rural Overlay, and MHO Manufacturing Housing District, Ward 3, District 2. Now, this is actually supposed to be District 3, not District 2, so I need a motion and a second on the amendment. So moved by Councilman Dean, second by Councilman Fitzgerald. Then we need to vote on that amendment to change it from 3 to 2, or 2 to 3.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
And then I'll need a motion and a second to introduce. Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. Okay.
No vote needed.
No vote on that one. It's just for introduction. All right. Number 13, ordinance calendar number 7406, ordinance amending the Code of Ordinance, St. Tammany Parish, Chapter 2, Section 2683, building permits provide for the following revision. I talked with Kenny Wortman, and frankly, we should have never put this on the agenda before I had the meeting with him, but after discussion with him, this was to raise some fees about 1,600%. Fortunately, they don't need to be raised right now based on the fire marshal's latest prediction of their workload, so it can be revisited at a later date. So I would need like a motion to remove this item from the agenda. Moved by Councilman Bender, second by Councilwoman O'Brien. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 2, Resolution Council Series Number C 6831, resolution to concur or not concur with the City of Slidell annexation and rezoning of lot 53-55, Square 2 Central Park subdivision from Parish A4A Single Family Residential to City of Slidell C4 Highway Commercial. Property is located near the intersection of Coast Boulevard and Sealbourne Avenue, Slidell, Louisiana, situated in Section 23 and 44, Township 9 South, Range 11 East, Ward 8, District 12. Councilman Bender, do you concur or not concur?
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, before I move on this, I'm going to ask Mr. Morone to come up. I visited this location on a few occasions, and Mr. Morone and I have spoken, and I would just like him to let the council know what he and I discussed in certain things, and then we'll make a motion.
Go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Bender, members of the council, Paul Marone on behalf of the property owner. Appreciate the opportunity to bring you up to speed a little bit on some of the details about this property, because it's things you might not otherwise know if you weren't familiar with it. I had a chance to speak with Mr. Bender at some length on a couple occasions. He had the ability to go out there and look at it, which was very helpful. But my client owns property along Spanish Court, which is immediately adjacent to these 3 lots. That property on Spanish Court is already in the city of Slidell, and it is already zoned C4. We've been working very closely with the city of Slidell on these 3 additional lots and propose to annex them in to C4 as well. So presently, we have C4 immediately adjacent to us, to the rear of these lots along Spanish Court. These lots also back up to the existing Amazon facility in Slidell, which is zone C4. And they are at the very dead end of Selborne Avenue. So it's uniquely situated there. In addition, it's important to note, and I want to be clear on the record this evening, that in order to be able to bring these lots into use with our adjacent property, we will have to re-subdivide as part of our annexation into the city. So these lots will be joined to the property that currently accesses and fronts on Spanish Court. The result of that will be that there will be no access from these properties onto Selborne. It'll be one parcel. It'll front on Spanish Court. As part of that re-subdivision process, we will have a no-access servitude draped across these lots as they abut Selborne to make sure that there is in fact no access to Selborne from the property, but only from Spanish Court. We've committed to that. We have already constructed a new privacy fence along Selborne with no gates so that it is completely insulated from that area. All of that being said, we believe that it really separates this and makes it consistent with the properties that are adjacent to it along Spanish Court and, of course, to the rear at Amazon. So we wanted to make these points on the record this evening so it was clear the nature of this property, because you wouldn't necessarily have known all that simply by looking at the caption. But we wanted to bring that to the attention of the council, put it on the record so that it would be there if it was ever needed in the future. But I thank you for your consideration this evening, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Morone. I'll let Mr. Davis go first, Mr. Chairman, if that's good with you.
Go ahead, sure.
Paul, can you come up for a second, please? Is there any properties that surround this property that are still residential?
There would be property on, not sure if that's the east or west. On one side, there is still residentially zoned property. But I would tell you that that property is a mix. In fact, just adjacent to it on the residential side is a mechanic shop.
Okay, so the property that is residential, is that vacant or somebody's living on it?
I do not believe there is anybody residing on the adjacent property.
Okay, so basically the C4 zoning, which hasn't been approved yet, correct? Because it hasn't been transferred over to the city of Slidell, right?
That's
But
correct.
that's what the zone, and that's the highest commercialization for,
I'm not sure if that's the highest or most intense that they have. The C4 would be similar to your HC1, HC2 type
Okay.
zoning, I believe would be my appreciation for
and I
it.
see the property is only 10,850 square feet. Does that meet the requirements of C4?
Well, it's got to be re-subdivided into the adjacent parcel or assimilated into the
okay.
existing C4 that's there.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, you want to let Mr. Randolph go?
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Morone. So the property that we're trying to subdivide, re-subdivide, and bring into the city, is designated A4.
A4A, I believe.
A4A.
Yes, sir.
Do we have to change the zoning of that before we make that transfer, or just?
No, sir. What is here before you is to concur or not concur with the annexation. The zoning change would happen at the city level once it's annexed in.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. So for everybody, Spanish Court is probably the smallest street, the shortest street that any of us could have, okay? There's literally 2 commercial buildings on Spanish Court, right off of Old Spanish Trail. So if you can imagine, facing Old Spanish Trail, you have some commercial buildings. If you put a street in between those buildings, 2 of those buildings, and you went back and just cut out like 2 frontages right behind it, that's where it's commercial, just 2. The property owner that would like to do this with the city, that property, this property immediately abuts it to the rear. And the reason that I've asked Mr. Morone for this is that it would be like as if this property that is already fronting and is commercial just had an extra 75 feet of depth to it, okay? With the fencing already there, and I don't want to create any access from any future request that would come out onto Selborne and ask for commercial, because I would never approve that. This is kind of one of these oddities, okay? The property is better fenced as it is now, very nice, as opposed to just, shrubs and trees and everything growing everywhere. No one will be hurt by this. There will be no in or out. If this property had anything on it, 90% of that area would be a mobile home, and it would be fine for that. But it's sat fallow for years. This is a good annexation, and so for that reason, I would make a motion to concur.
Moved by Councilman Bender, second by Councilman Laughlin. Please vote to concur.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Moving on to ordinances for adoption. Ordinance counter number 7173AA. Ordinance to amend St. Tammany Code of Ordinances, Part 2 Land Development Code, Section 130-1809 through 130-1814 to add Military Road, High 190 and Slidell as a planned corridor district, Ward 8, District 9. Councilman Smith. Moved by Councilman Smith, second by Councilman Canulette. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 2, ordinance calendar number 7174, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 1, to add Section 24438, enforcement, and Section 24439, maintenance identification, to authorize the enforcement of all St. Tammany Parish traffic and roadway ordinances and other state traffic provisions on the private roadways within Coquille subdivision, and provide for maintenance and indemnification obligations by the Homeowner Association of Coquille subdivision. Councilman Lorino. Moved by Councilman Lorino, second by Councilman Toledano. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 3, ordinance calendar number 7352AA, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 1, Chapter 40, Utilities, Article XI, Sewage from Septic and Sludge, Section 40-330, inspection of individual sewer systems, to require triennial inspections of individual sewer systems and the issuance of certificates of inspection related thereto, and to provide for other matters. Councilman Toledano.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, I'm going to move to postpone that tonight, advising the council and the public that as part of the educational plan on this particular ordinance, we are scheduling 2 public meetings, one on the east, one on the west. The one on the west on this side will be on October the 17th here in the council chambers. The one on the east is yet to be determined. I'm working with Mr. Brown to schedule that. So it's necessary for us tonight to ask you to entertain my motion to postpone. Thank you very much.
Right, that's actually reversed. The 17th will be at the Towers building.
Tim is exactly right. Thank you. And I apologize for that.
Why don't you say that again?
Yeah. So, let me say this. I'm going to reverse that and say October 17th at the Towers building. I wanted to make sure he was paying close attention. I'm very satisfied with this alertness.
We do have
the other one will be later, but it's yet to be determined.
Okay. We do have a number of cards, but it'll be limited discussion about whether we should postpone or not postpone. Joan Simon.
Good evening. Good evening. There we go. I think this is long overdue. I'm really happy to hear. I'm sorry that it's going to be postponed. The sooner the better as far as I'm concerned. We have a serious problem in our parish with these septic systems, and I don't happen to have one. I have public utilities. I live in Riverwood. But our scenic rivers and streams were polluted, and a lot of it is coming from this. So we really, really need to do this. So I'm sorry it's being postponed, but I hope that in future, sooner rather than later, that it is passed by all of you. I did want to say, and my councilman introduced it, I'm glad he did, but that said, I have to say one quick thing. When I went to my mailbox today, I found a piece of mail from him that indicated he seemed to be running against his own constituent. That's all I have to say on that matter. Thank you.
All right. Terry Lewis Stevens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Before you start the clock, Reed versus Washington Parish, mandated expenses is limited by the standard of reasonableness.
We're only going to talk about what's right here, so.
What I brought tonight for you to look at has to do with that particular ordinance, which is a really wonderful ordinance, and every opportunity that you can possibly get to educate yourselves is really quite critical at this point in time. What I brought tonight for you to look at while you ponder this for another month is an example of what the Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation, now the Pontchartrain Conservancy, has done for us in the past in St. Tammany Parish regarding inspections. They took the Ponchatoula or the Ponchatoula and did a home inspection program between 2018 and 2020. And you'll see the dots on the first page are the neighborhoods that they inspected and repaired and then went back and re-inspected, which is what this inspection program is designed to do. On the second page of this, however, you will see that they started in 2019 in June, and by the end, which was March of 2020, they still had a 48% fail rate, because that's just what the problem is with individual septic treatment plants. And if you go to the third page, you'll see in particular Dove Park subdivision, just because I know it very, very well. And you'll see when they initially did their inspections in 2019, almost every one of them failed. Almost every one of the septic systems in that subdivision failed, where the purple line is. And then when they went back and they re-inspected, they got some of them fixed, and then they got re-inspected, and then there were still some to this day that don't work. They have failed. So it's critical that we get in and look at these subdivisions on a regular basis. When you look at this sort of things, this is the type of thing we talked about doing, which was identifying hotspot areas like these that Pontchartrain Basin Foundation had looked at, and in particular PC4 and that little purple line. The purple line is my driveway. So PC4, where this subdivision is discharging, is my front yard. The reason why that is particularly critical is because on the next page, there were test results taken throughout 2019 and 2020. And if you look at what corresponded to that dot on the previous page, PC4, you'll see what the numbers were. On a daily basis, the numbers are not supposed to exceed 200 to be a safe and functioning septic system. You'll see on the first page, not too bad, 7,700. Not too good. And then you look at, as they progressed, which is really interesting on the very last page, they're now into 2019 and 2020 when they're revisiting these same sites for their re-inspections, and we've got numbers up to 21,000 units, and this is fecal coliform and E. coli. This is the stuff that'll make you sick. It's important that you pay attention to this, and the fact of the matter is, when I was suing the parish,
Thank you, Ms.
all
Stevens.
of this was happening at the same time.
Thank you.
So when you read mailers, understand there was sewage.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Time's up. Councilman Tanner on the postponement.
Yes, thank you. I have some concerns over this. First of all, I don't think it's been thought out. I think it presents a big problem in the rural areas. We know how to do filter beds and filter systems. I think we're probably quite good at it. We're talking about acres of land, and I don't think this has been thought out as a parish-wide and how it would affect the entire parish. So I don't know where Mr. Toledano is.
Here he is.
But,
I was listening to you.
okay, I have concerns, and if necessary, I would probably pull out my district from this ordinance.
Well, let me just answer your question this way. I don't think this is, in all due respect, the night to do it, because we will also have another meeting with the council as a whole. So all I ask you to do is just simply to reserve judgment. This is a process, this ordinance, that was just a highlight given to you about some of the problems we have in the parish. But I'm not prepared tonight, nor did I bring the team of members that have worked with us very closely on this. So I would simply ask you, in all due respect, to defer that conversation. We're going to come back to the council, not only have the educational component in the east and the west, but also to the council too, to ask any questions you would have, vet it any way you so choose, and ask, I'm sure, very good questions, and we will endeavor, and the experts will endeavor to answer them. I understand your reservation. We heard you say it once before, quite frankly. I remember you mentioned it, and I'm respectful of that, but allow us the chance to properly present this information. In all fairness to the public, they on a need-to-know basis, we feel like they need to know early on, and we certainly feel like the council will have a lot of good questions, some of which you've raised. But remember what I mentioned to you before.
Councilman Toledano, we have some other people in the queue, and I didn't really
remember,
actually
we have an
recognize you.
exemption built into this ordinance.
I understand.
There will be an
Councilman
exemption
Canulet?
that will protect the issue.
All right, thank you, Jake. So I have some reservations about this, and we're talking about the postponement. I thought the Public Utilities Group was going to get a shot at this thing. I didn't hear us mention, I think. Okay. And the other thing is it's off track a little bit, Jake, but I think this is kind of important. This information that Ms. Stevens presented us, showing all these places out of compliance in Dove Park. I'd like to know from Tim Brown, Environmental Services, what have we done? Have we fined them? Have we? I mean, I'm just curious. What has Environmental Services done with all these?
I think we're just limited to just the motion to postpone. I understand that, and that'd be a question we can ask later on.
So-
Thank you. Councilman Casabon?
Yes, I would like to add information. I would like to find out more information about these systems, because the people in my area, these systems don't work with the aerator and different things. That is there another choice that people can have? That I would like that information presented at these meetings, that that we have an alternative to what we're using now, because most of these, and like I said, it's something with the aerator and the air, that doesn't work, and this and that. That, in other words, the systems we're putting in are not lasting as long as they're supposed to be lasting, and they're breaking down. And I would just want to know, is there any other system that we can adopt? And I know this comes from the state laws too, because mainly it's the Department of Health and Hospitals that are the ones that monitor this. So I would like some information about this when we have these special meetings, okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Councilman
Thank you.
Laughlin?
Thank you, Chairman. I just had a question about, for clarification, how long are we postponing it for?
At this stage, I postponed it. Well, let me just think out loud. Oh, Tim, do you suggest 2 months, 1 month at this stage?
At least 60 days, I recommend.
I would say 30 days.
Well,
60.
yeah, all right, I think in due respect to what I'm hearing Mr. Tanner say, because we're going to have our two, I'm just thinking out loud, we're going to have our 2 meetings, then we're going to come back and meet with the Utilities Committee and then the council. I think Ms. Tanner's request is fair, 60 days. Thank you very much. It'll take that.
Councilman Davis?
Yes, having previously been an environmental health and safety officer, I do like the intent of this ordinance, but I do agree with the postponement of it so more information can be derived, because if I recall, there was like over 40,000 of these.
42,000.
42,000 of these septic systems, and I'm just wondering who's going to have the manpower to do all this. But I do agree, I think it's a great idea to postpone it, bring it up to the public, because I have a lot of septic and treatment plants in District 7, especially below 190 and such. So I'm just concerned about the public coming out and listening to what everybody has to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Randolph, please.
What Mr. Davis just stated. I'm looking forward to the meeting and the information that's going to be shared so that we might be able to interject some suggestions as well, because septic tanks are quite voluminous in my district as well.
So we have a motion by Mr. Toledano to postpone for 60 days, second by Councilwoman Tanner. I think let's vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
And I will note, just for the record, there were two cards, Rachel Kalana and Teresa Moon. They didn't want to speak. They were for the ordinance, but since we postponed. Okay. Number 4, ordinance calendar number 7359, ordinance to remove Charles William Road, RO 5A002 from the St. Tammany Parish Selective Road Drainage Maintenance System, Ward 5, District 6. Councilman Tanner.
I make the motion.
So moved. Seconded by Mrs. Casabon. Please vote.
Mr. Smith. The motion is unanimous with 3 absent.
Number 5, ordinance calendar number 7360, ordinance to remove Dump Road, R01J014 from the St. Tammany Parish Selective Road Maintenance, Drainage Maintenance System, Ward 1, District 1. Councilman Dean.
Place, so I think I'm gonna go with it.
Motion by Mr. Dean, second by Councilman Fitzgerald. Please vote. We're gonna dump Road.
Mr. Fitzgerald, Mr. Toledano. The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
Number 6, ordinance calendar number 7361, ordinance to declare a tax adjudicated property as surplus property and are authorized for the advertising and sale of such adjudicated properties. Moved by Councilman Bender, seconded by Councilman Laughlin. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 7362, ordinance authorizing the Parish of St. Tammany through the Office of Parish President to acquire certain parcels, rights-of-way, and servitudes for the drainage improvements in Robindale Subdivision, Ward 3, District 2. Councilman Fitzgerald. Moved by Councilman Fitzgerald, seconded by Councilman Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 8, ordinance calendar number 7363, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 4 acres of land from its present A1 Suburban District to A1 Suburban District and MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay, Ward 2, District 3. Councilman Casabon. Moved by Councilman Casabon, second by Mr. Lorino. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
Ordinance calendar number 7364, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 4,999.3 square feet of land from its present A1A Suburban District to A1A Suburban District and MHO Manufactured Housing District, Ward 10, District 2. Councilman Fitzgerald. So moved, second by Councilwoman O'Brien, well, Councilman Casabon, but I'll give it to Ms. O'Brien too. There you go. So moved.
Mr. Toledano. The motion is unanimous with 1 absent.
Number 10, ordinance calendar number 7365, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify a certain parcel located on the east side of East Housley Beach Road, the north side of Paul Street, and on the west side of Albert Street, being Lot 3A, Lots 5 through 10, a portion of Lots 19 through 22, Square 11 Lake Garden subdivisions being 288 East Housley Beach Road, Slidell, in which property comprises a total of 1.383 acres of land more or less from its present HC2 highway commercial to I-1 industrial district. I entertain a motion moved by Councilman Davis, second by Councilman Binder. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, number 11, ordinance calendar number 7366, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 0.582 acres of land from its present A2 suburban district to A2 suburban district and MHO manufactured housing overlay, Ward 7, District 7. Mr. Davis.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Davis, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 12, ordinance calendar number 7367, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 25.087 acres of land from its present industrial district to an I-2 industrial district, Ward 7, District 7. Councilman Davis.
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Mr. Davis, second by Mr. Fitzgerald. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 13, ordinance calendar number 7368, ordinance to amend the 2023 operating budget, amendment number 13. Mr. Lorino, moved by Mr. Lorino, second by Mr. Toledano. Please vote.
Mr. Loughlin? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 14, ordinance calendar number 7369, ordinance to amend the 2023 operating budget, amendment number 14. Entertain a motion by Councilman Tanner, second by Mr. Bender. Did you want to speak on this one, or?
Are we on 14 or 15?
14.
No. Nope.
Yeah, it's on.
Seconded by Mr. Candylet. Please vote.
You can't come to Ms. Tanner? The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Okay. Number 15, ordinance calendar number 7370, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 47, safe haven capital facility projects. Mr. Bender?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is not an objection, it's a question for Ms. Leslie. So, Ms. Leslie, on that item, on the capital project amendment, now I'm looking at the pluses of approximately 125,000 and change, and then the minuses. So I just have a question. Are the minuses indicating where this funding is going to come from instead?
Yes, sir. And we're, as it says, we're eliminating some projects to
Right.
fund the HVAC, the increase for the HVAC project.
Okay, so just a question, okay? Is the, I notice we have 125,000 and change. It looks like we have about 108,000 that we're eliminating. So do we have the extra 17,000 already?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And it's noted in the administrative comment.
Okay.
The 17,124 was funds that were remaining in the Deepwater Horizon funds that had been committed to Safe Haven.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll make a motion.
Moved by Councilman Bender, second by Councilman Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 7371, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 49, sewer water quality capital projects. Councilman Lorino. Moved by Councilman Lorino, seconded by Mr. Davis. Please vote.
Hold on. The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 17, ordinance calendar number 7372, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 50, St. Tammany Regional Airport Capital Projects. Mr. Canulette.
Yeah, last time Ms. Tanner went out there, it was uncontrolled. So have we gotten the gates and locks and fences and did what we need to do? So not just anybody could walk around there? Just curious.
He told me he'd call me up tonight.
Hey, make good money.
No, currently there's no access control on the airport. The facilities are locked and secured, but it has to stay open to the general aviation because it's a general aviation airport.
But they are locked. As of now, they are locked. You're telling me that the buildings and stuff are
Buildings,
locked?
but there's no gate restricting access along the roadway into the airport.
Okay, because last time Ms. Tanner went there was kind of, yeah, I think we had a pump, a gasoline pump that was not secured.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure that if we're going to operate it, we make sure we
it's our
secure
intent to reach that point. Actually, that access road is part of the capital plan for it, is to relocate that road further away from the runway. I guess when you go out there, you see the old slabs out there, everything. So that's always been the intent with the airport for years, is to start migrating everything away from the runway, give the runway more room.
I appreciate what you're saying.
And we're hoping when that comes around, we can get.
I just don't want to have to wait for a gate for another year for instead of my pond, it's the airport. So if it's our asset, let's make sure nobody can go get hurt.
Yes, sir.
I make the motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Tanner. Anybody want to second that? Second by
Second.
Councilman Lachlan. Please vote.
There you go. Look at that. Yeah. Got Daniel all the way up here. You wouldn't even give me a second.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
All right. Let's see. Ordinance counter number 7373, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 46, parish-wide road and drainage capital projects. Councilman Dean. Moved by Councilman Dean. Second by Councilman Fitzgerald. Please vote, since you all are co-sponsors.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 19, ordinance counter number 7374, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 48, economic development capital projects. Councilman Lachlan Lorino. Moved by Councilman Lachlan, seconded by Councilman, well, I'll give it to Councilman Toledano since he raised his hand first. And please vote.
Mr. Lorino, Mr. Toledano.
I beat you. Hey, you just made the motion, you got it.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance counter number 7375, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 51, grants capital project. Councilman Tanner.
Yes. Question. Where's Grant? Okay. Grant, we talked before the meeting. This is to do the bidding for the internet connection for the rural area.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can send the RFP to Gina to review for the language on.
Yeah, Natalie with finance just put the ARPA language in, so
Okay.
we should be ready to forward it to you.
Okay, and this will hopefully connect the rural area eventually.
That's the goal.
Okay, thank you. I make the motion.
Motion by Councilman Tanner, second by Councilman Randolph. Please vote.
Mr. Fitzgerald, Ms. Casabon. The motion is unanimous with one absent.
And I'll note that we have a finance meeting the last Wednesday, pretty much the last Wednesday of every month. So if you want more excruciating detail about the finance amendments that we just went through, we go over them very good detail at that meeting. Moratorium ordinances, number 21, ordinance counter number 7376, ordinance to extend for 6 months the moratorium on receipt by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the re-subdivision or rezoning of certain property and/or the issuance of certain permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development, permits for the construction or placement of certain building structures on property in the area bounded by 11th Street, Harrison Avenue, Highway 59, Fire Tower Road, 5th Avenue, and Hellenberg Road, as all more particularly described herein and on the attached map. Ward 3, District 5, Councilman Toledano, and your justification on the extension of the moratorium, please. And your justification on the extension of the moratorium, please.
The study from the, thank you very much. The engineer tells me that the study is ongoing. They're making progress, but they're not in a position yet to offer those recommendations. Thank you very much.
Do you have a time frame you think on that, or?
I would defer to Mr. Hill. Dan, do you think 2 or 3 more months? I think Mr. Hill is looking at his notes.
He just gave you a thumbs up on that, so.
So out of an abundance of caution, 3 months, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, motion by Councilman Toledano, second by Councilman Dean or Fitzgerald. I can't see whichever one. All right. Trying to get you all more involved in this. Come on now, let's get moving. All right.
We need votes from Dean, Toledano, Lockman. The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right. Number 22, ordinance counter number 7377, ordinance to impose a 6-month moratorium on receipt of subdivisions or receipt of submissions by the Planning, Parish, and Zoning Commission for the places of mobile home overlay or re-subdivision or rezoning of property and on the issuance of permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development, permits for the construction or placement of any mobile home building structures in the Howard O'Barry Road area in District 6, all is more particularly described herein and on the attached map. Ward 4, District 6.
I make the motion.
There's a substitute.
There's a substitute ordinance.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Substitute ordinance. Yes, we increased, it's not just Howard O'Barry Road.
Hold on one second, Ms. Tanner. Your mic wasn't on.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not just Howard O'Barry Road. Apparently, there is a larger area around Howard O'Barry Road that is all A4, and the moratorium is to give us time to look at that area and to probably come up with a study. We're doing a study, and we'll hopefully go before the Planning Commission to change it to a A2.
Thank you. So we're going to
Substitute motion.
So we have a motion on the substitute motion by Councilman Tanner, second by Councilman Candy-Lett. Please vote on the substitution.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
And then we need a motion and second to reintroduce. So motion by Councilman Tanner, second by Councilman Candy-Lett on the second to reintroduce. All right. Number 23, ordinance counter number 7378, AA, ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinance, Chapter 130, Unified Development Code, Division 31, Part 2, Land Development Code, I-2 Industrial District, Section 130-1074, permitted uses ADD 33, sales and repair of semi-trucks and trailers when the criteria of Section 130-2213, 4 and 21 are met, and amend Section 130-1076E, increase maximum allowable height regulations, 2023-3396-ZC, ZC approved, 8/01/2023, Councilman Davis. So this was amended and reintroduced. Okay, so we're good. A motion to adopt by Councilman Davis, second by Councilman Lorino. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 24, ordinance counter number 7379, ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Appendix B, Parish Personnel Policies Ordinance. Councilman Tanner.
I make the motion.
Moved by Councilwoman Tanner, seconded by Councilman Smith, please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Number 25, ordinance calendar number 7380, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Article VI, Division 1, pertaining to parish buildings to add Section 2-216, prohibiting animals on election day in parish buildings being utilized as polling locations. It's me and President Cooper on this one. I'm not sure what prompted this, but motion by Mr. Canulette, seconded by Mr. Smith. Please vote.
Hold on 1 second. All right. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 26, ordinance calendar number 7382, ordinance to amend the Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 28, Article 3, Waterways, Division 2, Watercraft Speed Limits, Section 28-121A16, to create an additional dead slow no wake zone on an unnamed slough east of Magnolia Forest subdivision, Phase 7, Ward 8, District 9. Councilman Smith.
I'm going to ask the budget on this for 90 days, because we have to clarify some legal, we have to talk to wildlife, and we've got to clarify we can actually legally do this, so 90-day postponement.
Motion for a 90-day postponement, second by Councilman Canulette. Please vote on the postponement.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 27, ordinance calendar number 7387, ordinance amending the official zoning map to reclassify 1.29 acres of land from its present A1 suburban district to A1 suburban district and MHO manufactured housing overlay, Ward 3, District 2. Mr. Fitzgerald, so moved by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Dean. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 28, ordinance calendar number 7388, ordinance to amend the St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 4, Officers and Employees, Division 3, notification of capital improvement, special programs, et cetera, Sections 2-157, 2-158, 2-159, 2-160, and 2-162, regarding notification of Parish Council of capital improvements, special programs, et cetera, notification, award, allocation, or change in use, and approval by resolution of any cooperative endeavor agreement, intergovernmental agreement, or sub-recipient agreement. Councilman Canulette. Moved by Councilman Canulette, seconded by Councilwoman Tanner. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Number 29, ordinance calendar number 7389, ordinance to amend the 2023 grants budget, amendment number 9. Councilman Davis.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Davis, second by Councilman Lorino. Please vote.
Mr. Smith, Ms. Casabon. The motion is unanimous with no one absent.
Ordinance calendar number 7390, ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets, amendment number 52, coastal environmental capital projects.
Yes.
Is this,
Green.
did I miss one?
No, it's number 30. I just don't have a million hands.
That's okay.
Mr. Chairman, I would like a couple of minutes on this one. I believe we're going to move to postpone on this, but I'd like to speak to Mr. Liner, Mr. Ori, and Mrs. Marino, if they could all come up.
Yes, sir.
I'm just waiting. I'm going to start off with Ross. Don't worry, this is going to be real easy and quick. Is Ross here? Ross, it's going to be. Ross, it's going to be easy and quick. So I consulted with my colleague, Mr. Lorino, and so we're looking. I mean, basically the problem's simple. We got boats that are loose and have been abandoned, and we were looking for a source of revenue. So I understand that the Go Mesa money is real sensitive to you, but then Mr. Ori apparently found some money that we can apply to, but there's a hard deadline. And Ms. Marino, do you think we could get a letter of intent in by the 27th of, because it looks like it's for boats. I just reread the grant, because Mr. Ori found a grant for $28 million. I know we don't get all of it, but that seems to be a better source of revenue for this project.
So I have to look back into, if it's just a letter of intent, we can write a letter of intent. We just have to look at the opportunity to make sure it fits for your purpose. I know that you have read it, but I think we also need to read it just to make sure that it fits the purpose. Also want to understand the agency that it's involved in, and I just need to look at it in more depth to make sure it actually fits the purpose that we intend it for.
Okay. Do you think maybe we could all three meet after the election? I'll move to postpone this until we
Sure.
can find a better source of revenue for it. And I'd like to thank all of y'all.
There's also a state program through Wildlife and Fisheries, and I just want to make sure there's no overlap on that, because there's opportunities for us with that as well.
Yes, ma'am, and I'd let you take the lead on it because this is your wheelhouse.
Thank you.
All right, and thanks, guys. So I would move to postpone for at least 60 days.
And, motion to postpone for 60 days, seconded by Councilman Lorino. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, number 31, ordinance calendar number 7393, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Land Development Code, Part 2, Land Development Code, Chapter 105, Buildings and Construction, Article 2, Permits, Section 105-61 and 105-62, to provide for mandatory notice upon filing of application for permits for certain construction and development as described herein, to ensure that the public and its elected representatives, the parish council, are notified of said permit application in a specific manner. Councilman Fitzgerald.
Yes, after conferring with St. Tammany Corp. And also the Chamber and others in this process, I think everyone agrees that this ordinance needs to be put in, but it does need to have some slight modifications to it so that it's not overly onerous for anybody that is trying to put forth a development. So I move to postpone it for 30 days.
Motion by Councilman Fitzgerald, seconded by Councilman Lorino. Please vote on the postponement.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Emergency ordinance. Ordinance calendar number 7419. Ordinance to amend and extend for additional 30 days the emergency moratorium on receipt of submissions by the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission for the placement of mobile home overlay or re-subdivision or rezoning of property and on issuance of permits by the Parish Department of Planning and Development, permits for the construction or placement of any mobile home building structures in the Howard O'Berry Road area, commencing at the intersection of Highway 41 and Earl Bennett Road in District 6, excluding properties located at 37360, 37380, and 37402 Howard O'Berry Road, as specifically described herein and the attached map and in the attachment titled New Legal Boundary, Ward 4, District 6. And can you explain the need for the emergency nature of this?
The need for it is because currently that is on A4, and we have trailer mobile homes coming in that the enforcement planning permits, and planning tells me they cannot identify if these mobile homes has permits or do not have permits. So moratorium to stop the flow of these mobile homes at this time.
We have a motion by Councilman Tanner, second by Councilman Canulette. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, we have a few off the floor, so we need a unanimous vote to go off the floor. So I kind of get a motion on off the floor motion by Councilman Hockland, second by Councilman Randolph. Please vote on opening the floor.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
All right, off the floor, number one, resolution to approve recommendation to authorize Civil Division Assistant District Attorney to proceed with settlement of a lawsuit entitled Wayne McDonald versus St. Tammany Parish Government and its liability insurance carrier, ABC Insurance Company, We're bringing this off the floor because we had an opportunity to settle the case, and the district attorney's office recommended to us to accept that settlement, and believe the administration and council are in agreement with that. So that's why it's being brought off the floor. Motion by Councilman Toledano and seconded by Councilman Lorino. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
Okay, this is ordinance for introduction. Ordinance to amend the 2023 capital improvement budget and capital assets amendment number 63, coastal restoration capital projects. Councilman Lorino? Do we have an explanation of why we're bringing it off the floor real quick?
Keep that project moving, and we wanted to do that.
Which project?
This is the Marsh project. I believe we ran into a
West
cost
St. Tammany
overrun, and
Marsh, yes.
we needed some
West
money
St.
to
Tammany.
keep it going. Okay. So that's just a motion by Councilman Lorino. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you want to clarify that? Is it?
Yeah, it was just, we needed some extra geotech based on the feasibility study in the marsh area and in the lake. So it was about $15,000 from the sub-consultant for geotech testing, design, and inspection.
And this helps keep the project moving?
Absolutely.
without the-
It's critical to move the project in design, so yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that this was like on Highway 90 out there between, between Mississippi and Louisiana.
No.
We got that nice, beautiful launch that you can't get to because the highway's closed.
I got you.
So I just want to make sure we're not.
No, this is going to be a
there.
pretty
We
good
didn't,
one.
we didn't build that one, the state
I
did.
didn't
but-
have
No, I know
I didn't
that.
have
Hey,
anything
I'm
to
just
do with
saying.
that.
Did we
That's
move on
that's
that
not-
one? Move in second?
Yeah,
Already did.
we got it. Loreno Toledano.
Okay, all right. So that was, so now we have off the floor, number 3, ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Land Development Code, Chapter 115, Drainage and Flood Control, Article 1 in general, Section 115-3, use of fill materials prohibited, to remove from an area of special concern 3.226 acres of land located in Section 13, Township 8 South, Range 11 East, St. Tammany Parish, Ward 3, District 5, Councilman Toledano.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. A gentleman approached me for a project in that area. I've asked Mr. Hill's office to examine that, whether it would be appropriate to remove it from the area of special concern. I'm told the answer to that is yes. So based upon those recommendations, I'll move to adopt that ordinance.
This is time sensitive. We need to do this now.
It
or
is
it's not
time
to go through.
sensitive, and that's the reason why it was moved up to an off-the-floor item. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Motion by Councilman Toledano, second by Councilman Davis. Please vote.
The motion is unanimous with one absent.
And finally, ordinance requiring speed tables to be installed on Melissa Lane, R03J001, Ward 3, District 2. Councilman Fitzgerald.
We had several citizens come in and speak to this in our last meeting in anticipation of possibly more traffic. I know we've done a study on it, and this is no slide at Mr. Hill. He does a great job. But it was pointed out that many children, narrow road, increasing traffic, and it's an urgent need to get the speed tables installed.
So this is just for introduction. Motion by Mr. Fitzgerald, second by Mr. Dean. So that's been introduced, and please get with Mr. Hill on that and make sure we have engineering approval of that when we vote on it for next meeting. Seeing nothing else, anything else? Motion to adjourn, second by Mr. Brown. What?
I got a comment.
Oh, go ahead, Mr. Davis.
I have a comment about the speed tables, just so the public knows those are speed bumps. I mean, a speed table would really work. I mean, if you think about it, if you put it right in the middle of the road, it would really slow people down. But anyway,
All right,
thank you.
Adjourned. Killing me.